And today, let's just chat about everything changing. We are in such an interesting time right now. So let's chat about what is currently going on energetically and why perhaps you feel like you just got hit by a bus. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling like you just got hit by a bus? Wow, are we living through some intensities right this moment here in this reality? Today is June 15th, 2020. And last night we just had that big strawberry full moon, right? Now let's just talk about that. Let's just start right there for a moment. So the strawberry moon that we had last night actually signified kind of the end of the lunar eclipse that we had last month. Now last month we had that shadow event lunar eclipse, right? Where for like a couple weeks before the lunar eclipse, we were starting to really feel those energies moving in. And then we had that really powerful lunar eclipse. And then essentially we started all through that lunar eclipse, we started to see the shadow aspects of ourselves really loudly and clearly, right? There was a lot of places where it was like, oh, yeah, I'm doing that. I'm being that. I'm choosing that. I'm creating that, right? And last month, it really gave us that opportunity to really see those shadow selves so we could really make new and better choices for ourselves. And that strawberry moon we had last night was kind of like the closing out of that lunar eclipse cycle, kind of the closing of that shadow event that we just went through. Now, so let's just talk about this for a moment. So basically, we are living through really truly what can only be explained as the greatest evolution of our beings ever, right? We're waking up. We are becoming innately aware of our patterns, the energies we're perpetrating, the energies we're upholding, the programming we have stored in our field, right? The things that we're doing, being, choosing, creating. And essentially we're waking up right now to the unconsciousness and the patterns we've been perpetrating, the energies we've been living in, and the world is asking us to, hey, it's time to take responsibility. It's time to change the patterns that you no longer desire to be. It's time to reclaim your space. So let's just recap here what we've been going through. Now, if you've been doing self-help work for a really long time, you might be feeling like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know how much more I can take of this, right? Because it feels like, man, oh man, have you been trudging through it for so long? And really, you probably have. So let's just talk about the timeline here of what we've been living through and get really clear so we can go beyond making where we still are wrong. Okay, because that's really, really important. As long as we are upset that we're still having to deal with these energetic intensities, as long as we're still mad because we're not as far along as we think we should be, or as long as we're still kind of, I'm going to say, treading water in the same space, as long as we're making that relevant, is as long as you're going to continue to keep living in that cycle. So let's kind of look at the timeline here of what we've been living through. So if you've been listening to the radio show for any amount of time, you know I talk about this often, but I think it's just so important to revisit this because it is something that I think is hard for us to really kind of comprehend. And I know if, I've been doing the podcast since what? 2017, and I've been talking about this pre-COVID, all of it, and really kind of trying to get it out there that, okay, from 2012, from actual December 12th, 2012, from December 21st, 2012, we had a 9-day period. And in that 9-day period was the first time that the Earth actually moved on its axis. And it actually moved 6 whole degrees. Okay. Then from December 21st, 2012 until December 21st, 2021, 9 years, we lived through that 9-year cycle. We went through basically a massive overhaul The Earth moved a whole bunch of times. Actually, they say the Earth moved so much that the North Pole actually became the South Pole, and the South Pole actually became the North Pole. Okay, like that's how much the Earth actually moved. Now, what that did was it changed the planetary alignment. It changed the way that the Earth vibrated at the core. It shifted the matrix constructs, actually dissipating, releasing, removing a lot of those lower 3D concepts, right? And what we lived through, especially with COVID, was basically the reset of all of the form and structure as we know it. Now, this reality would make us believe that we're still functioning in the same way we were functioning. Now, we all know that it's a little bit different, right? But a lot of the systems, like the government system, the banking system, the school systems, everything would like you to believe that everything is still functioning the same. But we're all very aware and we know everything's different, right? Nothing is the same as it was before. And that is because through that 9-year cycle that we lived through, the matrix system actually started to get dismantled. Breathe that through for a moment. Okay. So the dismantling of the system was that whole 9-year cycle. It's when the bottom got taken out of the way that we have been living in this world prior to 2012. So prior to 2012, we were all entrenched within the matrix programming. You didn't really have a choice what you did, what you chose, what you created. Basically, everything was based upon the programming that you had stored in your field. Everything that you had been programmed with is good and bad and right and wrong. And you were basically just energetically living your life from what your programs were telling you to do. Right? So then when we went through that period from December 21st, 2012 to December 21st, 2021, not only was the matrix changing, the bottom was falling out of a lot of form and structure, the veil has been lifting dynamically, right? So information is now readily available to us like we've never had information available to us ever before. And the Earth, on the shift, when we first got the shift, December 21st, 2012, the Earth started vibrating at the very core as the 5D reality. And then through that 9-year cycle, the Earth slowly radiated and became 5D. So December 21st, 2021, the Earth was fully 5D. Now, we as the people are not fully 5D yet, right? We are still very entrenched in the programs and the limitations and the belief systems and the form and structure. We're entrenched within the polarity of this reality, right? We have been living in the programs of this reality. Now, one of the things that I've been doing in the Conscious Empath here is I have been teaching tools on how to remove yourself from the programming. That's really what the Conscious Empath tools have been doing. So if you've been practicing the Conscious Empath tools for even the last year or 2 years, or if you've taken the core program, if you've been taking any of my other programs, you know what's been happening is you have been removing yourself from that matrix 3D programming, right? Now, what happens when you remove yourself from that matrix 3D programming is you get to see that. You get to see that you have choice in your life. Instead of being emotionally reactive to other people, you get to actually have a choice if you go into reaction or not. And then eventually you just get to the point where, hey, you just don't have any more emotional reaction because you're no longer energetically charged. You no longer have that 3D programming within your field.